Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations. Will the Secretary please take the roll?
Assemblymember Cole. Dickman. Edgeworth. Gonzalez. Hibbets. Howdigi. Miller. Monroe Moreno. Moore. Nadeem. Chair Mosca.
And I am here, and please mark Assembly Members Dickman, Howdigi, Miller, and Monroe Moreno present as they arrive. We have everybody running around this end of session, so we know they'll be here soon. Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Legislative and Operations. We have our audience in Carson City. Don't see anyone in Las Vegas, as well as those listening over the phone line. Before we begin, I'd like to make several housekeeping announcements. Please make sure you silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card. When testifying, please turn on your microphone and clearly state and spell your name for the record and any affiliation. There are hard copies of the meeting materials available for members of the public. Members of the public may also access electronic copies of the materials on the Nevada Legislature's website. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the meeting. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we may not agree with one another's position, and as it is tense at the end of the session, we will make sure we are keeping to this today. And finally, committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Do not take this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. A couple items, we will be taking items out of order today, so we will be starting with SB 74, presented by our Secretary of State's office. Yes, we will be here at 4 p.m. for our joint Legislative Operations and Elections meeting. And finally, at some point, I'll be handing the gavel off to Vice Chair Gonzalez as I present a bill in the Senate. So with that, we will open our hearing for SB. Oh, they want to go last. Oh, I revised that. Secretary of State wanted to go last, not first. So we will start with SB 226 because our Chair of Senate Leg Ops is here, Chair Orenshaw. Senate Bill 226 revises provisions relating to legislative affairs. Chair Orenshaw, you'll have 15 minutes before we get to questions and testimony. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca, members of the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. For the record, my name is James Orenshaw. I represent State Senate District 21. I want to thank you for hearing Senate Bill 226 today, and I do have some prepared comments that I wanted to go over with you. There is also an amendment to Senate Bill 226 that was brought to my attention. Hopefully it's on Nellis, and it's proposed by the Nevada Mining Association. I went over that amendment. I consulted the legal division. I was told that that amendment is germane to Senate Bill 226, and I did discuss the implications with our legal division. I am considering that a friendly amendment, so I just want the committee to know that I do consider that a friendly amendment. Senate Bill 226, among the important parts of the bill, it retains provisions requiring any vote of approval during the interim to take action by a majority of members of each house, deletes the new language in the bill that would have only required the approval of 5 members of a joint interim standing committee. That was amended over in our house. The bill proposes to change the current existing subcommittee on public lands, which is a subcommittee of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources, and make it an independent standing committee that would be appointed by the Legislative Commission rather than by the chair of the Interim Committee on Natural Resources. It revises the membership of the new Committee on Public Lands to be 6 legislative members, 3 from each house, 1 member from local government, and 1 tribal representative. It reduces to 10 the number of bill draft requests that the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources is authorized to request, and transfers the authority to request 4 bill draft requests to the new independent freestanding Committee on Public Lands. Senate Bill 226 also retains the provision in current law regarding the November 1st start date for interim committees and deletes the new language that would have moved this date to September 1st. And that was done to address some concerns over in the House from some of my colleagues. Those changes were made to Senate Bill 226 to address those concerns. Just to provide brief background on the bill, as you're all aware, the legislature is only in session for 120 days of every odd number year. However, during the interim period between legislative sessions, interim committees of the legislature still meet to study certain issues and formulate recommendations for new legislation to be considered during the next biennial legislative session. The legislature passed Assembly Bill 443 in 2021, which significantly changed the interim committee structure of the Nevada Legislature. That bill repealed several existing statutory interim committees and formed new joint interim standing committees that parallel the issue areas of the committees that meet during session. For example, there's a joint interim standing committee on legislative operations and elections, which voted to draft the bill that you're hearing today. Assembly Bill 443 of the 2021 session also imposed new requirements, in particular those regarding membership, quorum, and legislative commission oversight for the joint interim committees that differed from those of prior interim committees. The 2021 to 2022 and 2023 to 2024 interims were the first interims the legislature was operating under this new interim structure, and as such, there are lessons learned and necessary changes that we identified to improve the process. Senate Bill 226 seeks to address a few oversights of Assembly Bill 443 that were not discovered until the first interim of implementation, and incorporates a few other changes to interim activities in general. I believe in many ways Senate Bill 226 makes positive changes to the interim structure of the legislature, both for our constituents and for the staff and for all the members of the legislature. The bill clarifies that in the vacancy of a chair for a joint interim standing committee, the vice chair shall become acting chair until a chair is appointed, clarifies that if a regular member of a joint interim standing committee cannot attend a meeting, the alternate member that attends in the member's place must be of the same political party, transfers the duties to evaluate and review issues relating to governmental purchasing from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Government Affairs. Nevada Revised Statutes 218E.330 provides that a Joint Interim Standing Committee may evaluate and review issues within the jurisdiction of its corresponding standing committee, and governmental purchasing has typically fallen under the jurisdiction of the Senate and Assembly Committees on Government Affairs. Under our current statutes, a specific carve-out to allow the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections to evaluate and review issues related to governmental purchasing. This bill instead transfers these duties to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Government Affairs, where I believe they more appropriately belong. In a similar manner, current statutes require the Commission to Study Governmental Purchasing, commonly known as the Nevada Public Purchasing Study Commission, to submit a report including recommendations for legislation related to governmental purchasing to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Senate Bill 226 instead requires this report be submitted to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Government Affairs. Senate Bill 226 also repeals the requirement that the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services review regulations related to health care. This requirement, I believe, is outdated and duplicative. Long before the Legislative Commission had the authority to approve regulations, the Legislative Committee on Health Care was responsible for reviewing regulations related to health care. The Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services took over this duty when the Legislative Committee on Health Care was repealed. However, now that the Legislative Commission approves regulations, it is unnecessary for the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services to also review regulations related to health care. Additionally, no other Joint Interim Standing Committee has a requirement to review regulations. I believe it's time to remove this requirement from the NRS. The bill requires certain reports to be submitted to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on the Judiciary and transfer certain duties related to industrial programs from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on the Judiciary to the Interim Finance Committee. Assembly Bill 443 of the 2021 legislative session repealed the Committee on Industrial Programs and transferred those duties to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on the Judiciary. However, several of those duties are fiscal in nature and I believe are better suited for the Interim Finance Committee. Senate Bill 226 also repeals current provisions. We discussed the Subcommittee on Public Lands. I believe Senate Bill 226 makes changes to help update and streamline the operations of some longstanding interim committees which were not affected by the changes made by the 2021 legislature, including the Legislative Committee for the Review and Oversight of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency and the Marlette Lake Water System, the Legislative Committee on Senior Citizens and Veterans and Adults with Special Needs. The bill aligns the membership requirements and procedures related to the election of the chair and vice chair, vacancies, meeting, quorums, compensation, and expenses of those committees with those of the various joint interim standing committees. In addition, Senate Bill 226 renames the Sunset Subcommittee of the Legislative Commission as the Sunset Committee of the Legislature and makes the committee independent of the Legislative Commission. The bill applies the same membership requirements and procedures related to the election of the chair and vice chair, vacancies, meeting quorums, compensation, and expenses as the various joint interim standing committees. With this change, the Sunset Committee will have more time to review boards and commissions and will be able to submit its own recommendations for legislation rather than submitting them to the Legislative Commission for approval. The bill also makes changes to provisions relating to Legislative Committee members and staff regulated by the Nevada Lobbying and Disclosure and Regulation Act and the Nevada Financial Disclosure Act, so that Legislative Committee staff members may attend educational meetings, events, or trips that are organized for the committee. Senate Bill 226 revises the date that a teacher wishes to serve on the Nevada State Teacher and Education Support Professional Recruitment and Retention Advisory Task Force must submit an application to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education from January 15th of an even-numbered year to December 1st of an odd-numbered year. This would give the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education the additional time it needs to appoint members to the task force by February 1st of each even-numbered year. The bill revises the dates by which the State Board of Education must submit and the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education must review a report related to the instruction of the Holocaust and other genocides. It also removes the requirement for certain hospitals to submit a staffing committee report to the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services and the Director of the Legislative Council Bureau, which, according to the Nevada Hospital Association, is a duplicative effort to ensure compliance with its staffing committee requirements. In summary, Senate Bill 226 proposes changes that I believe will help improve the interim committee structure of the legislature, and reached out across the aisle over in the other house. I'm certainly open to any other ideas committee members may have. Happy to stand for any questions, Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair Ornshaw, for that helpful overview. We do have some questions, so we will start with Assemblymember Cole.
Hello, Senator. Thank you for being here. It's always good to see you. So my question is in Section 3, both subs 1 and 2, when we're talking about laws and rules, including without limitation any applicable principles of parliamentary law. And I guess my question is, are the principles of parliamentary law in writing somewhere where we would actually know what those rules are? Just the word principles seems odd. Thank you.
Through you, Chair Mosca, to Assemblymember Cole, James Ornshaw. Oh, go direct. Okay. Thank you. James Ornshaw, Senate 21. I think I might make Mr. Powers upset if I tried to describe parliamentary law and the principles of it, and I think he'd probably give me an F if I tried to. I don't know if we have.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Chair Ornshaw. We'll go to our committee council because that's a great question. So we have committee council, Mr. McDonald down in Las Vegas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Aaron MacDonald, Committee Counsel. So the common law principles of parliamentary law, common law is defined as the body of law developed by judicial decisions. And so it's the judicial decisions that affect meetings or assemblies. That's what parliamentary law is. Generally, at the Legislative Council Bureau, we defer to a manual called Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure. And so it sets forth a lot of the procedures of parliamentary law and legislative procedure. But there's a great body that's not codified, but it's law that must be followed through judicial decisions that we're referring to in this section.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move to testimony. Thank you, Chair Ornshaw. Today we will, due to time constraints, we're going to have another meeting in another floor. Today we will be limiting testimony to 20 minutes for each side, so 20 minutes in support, 20 minutes in opposition, and 20 minutes in neutral. Before I open up, I will provide the public line in case people want to call in. It is 669-900-6833, and the meeting ID is 812-9227-7202. So we will start here in support. You will have 2 minutes. And don't forget to state and spell your name for the record. Seeing none here in Carson City and seeing none in Las Vegas, AVH, if we could please open the phone lines for support of SB 226.
To testify in support for Senate Bill 226, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public lines are open and working. We have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will move to opposition. Opposition to SB 226. Still seeing none at the table or down in Carson City, AVH will go back up to you for opposition in SB 226.
To testify in opposition to Senate Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Oscar Williams, OSCAR, WILLIAMS from Reno. My concern on this bill is, I have a number of concerns, but to be brief, the changing of certain gifts to not be gifts, to not be disclosed. I understand that there's an educational or informational need, that you're a staffer, you send them, but historically there would be some recordation that the public could go, oh, okay, that's who's sponsoring this, and that's the amount that it's worth. And that has at least a minimum level of transparency that I enjoy and that I would like to see going forward, but this bill would change that, and I think that's why I oppose it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any other in opposition, AVH?
Chair, we have no more callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we will open to neutral. Excited to have some neutral today. Go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. James Settlemeyer, Director, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. I'm neutral on the bill. I'm speaking mainly to the amendment that has come up in relation to other legislation that's passed, trying to make sure that if regulations are put forth through the Nevada Department of Environmental Protection, they then go through the State Environmental Commission, but then they also then go to a committee called MOAB, the Mining Accountability and Oversight. The issue is that they often don't meet. Matter of fact, this august body one time recommended that it go away because of the fact it never meets. Frankly, if it was my amendment, I'd amend it that way. That being said, the concept of stating that if they don't meet within a 3 or 4 month period, that those regulations hereby go into effect is a nice compromise per se. However, I would go the other way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Any other neutral? Okay, and seeing none in Las Vegas, AVH will go to the phone lines.
To testify in neutral to Senate Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. With that, Chair Ornshaw will invite you up if you would like closing remarks.
Chair Mosca, members of the committee, James Ornshaw, Senate District 21, and appreciate you hearing the bill. Certainly, I think the changes regarding legislative staff to the Financial Disclosure Act, lobbying disclosure, I do not believe will lead to any less transparency. I believe, if anything, it'll just allow staff, when there are conferences, meetings, where there's subject matter that's important to the legislature, to be able to attend. And I think that'll be a benefit to the legislature and to our constituents. Thank you for hearing the bill. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Chair. And with that, we will close the hearing on SB 226, and we'll open the hearing on Senate Bill 422. This measure revises provisions relating to voting, and we will have Chair Ornshaw present SB 422. So you have another 15 minutes for presentation, and you may begin when you are ready.
Thank you very much, Chair Mosca. James Ornshaw, State Senate District 21. To my right, I'm very fortunate to have Emily Prasad Zamora, and then I've got Mark Woloshyn from the Secretary of State's office, both to help me co-present. And with your indulgence, Chair, I got the message that they want me to run down because floor will be starting soon in the Senate. But I wonder if I could turn it over here to my co-presenters to present the bill, and I apologize for having to run.
Yeah, no problem, Chair. We know we're
this bill.
running around today, so
Thank you very much for your indulgence. Thank you, committee.
And we will see you for our joint at 4 p.m. Okay. Presenters, when you are ready, you may go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and committee members. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora, and that's spelled PERSAUD-ZAMORA. I have the privilege of being the executive director of Silver State Voices, and we, for the record, well, all right. We are first and foremost wanted to just say thank you to Senator Orrin Shaw. We greatly appreciate him working with us on SB 422. I will go ahead and start with some of his remarks since he had to go to committee. SB 422 is a piece of legislation that has to do with registering to vote, specifically on election day or during the period of early voting, and trying to make sure that you are qualified to vote and making sure that there are not obstacles in standing in way. There are many specific measures regarding requirements for proof of identity and residency for persons registering to vote during the early voting period or on election day. Also, the bill will require that Department of Motor Vehicles establish extended hours to ensure that folks who want to get a driver's license or identification card may do so for early voting. There are a couple of key aspects regarding this particular bill. It deals, again, with same-day voter registration, and it really ensures that the process that eligible Nevadans can register to vote is a fair and equitable process during early vote and election day. The key things about this bill and why we really wanted to ensure that that this bill existed is that there is a lot of I'm sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and switch to my remarks. I had the senator's remarks and my remarks, and I'm just going to go ahead and go with mine. Okay. So my organization, Silver State Voices, part of our work is leading a nonpartisan election protection program, which includes a phone hotline and a poll monitor program during the election seasons. Through this work, we help voters of all political parties through the entirety of Nevada navigate the election protection process to cast their ballots. Same-day voter registration, the policy, was established in 2019 through the passage of AB 345, which was sponsored by Speaker Jason Frierson. Since then, we've seen many Nevadans, thousands actually, participate in same-day voter registration all across the state of Nevada. As the senator has mentioned in previous hearings, there are a variety of reasons why voters use same-day voter registration, and it's actually really popular within our state. One of the most frequent reasons why voters choose to participate in SDR is to update their voter registration information to their current address. Another reason that we have seen from the field is the high move rate in the state of Nevada. Approximately 122,219 people moved to the state of Nevada in 2023, while 104,444 moved out. This represents a net gain of 17,775 residents. The state received roughly 35 movers per day between 2022 to 2023. Sadly, not everybody's like me, or probably like you all, that puts registering to vote on their checklist when they're actually moving. And many folks only really think about it when it's time for elections and they're seeing the commercials or, hearing messages from particular candidates. Through our work on the ground with voters, we still see that same-day voter registration is one of the election issues that we get the most questions about. And we're convinced that SB 422 is a mechanism of ensuring that there are less questions and there are more access for same-day voter registration. One of the aspects that we really appreciate about SB 422 is the requirement of extending DMV hours during early vote. The last two election cycles, the Department of Motor Vehicles has been gracious and has done in order to ensure that they are extending business hours. But the issue that we have with this is that this is not in statute. And so it's at the discretion of whoever the director of the Department of Motor Vehicles is to ensure that they are making this particular decision. What we would like is to ensure that this is part of statute. And so there's no confusion amongst voters. They know that every election cycle, there would be extended hours. And particularly, this does not apply to all Department of Motor Vehicles. I know we do have have a representative here who will be able to answer any DMV-related questions. This bill would only pertain to the DMVs that are in Washoe County and in Clark County. One thing that we learned that through this being presented in the Senate Leg Ops Committee is that there were a lot of questions from the opposition around how many people actually participate in this process and how many people is this a policy going to affect? So I believe you all should have a really cool graph that we created that actually we evaluated this committee in each particular. Do you all have that? I just want to make sure. Yes. Okay. And so I'm just going to go through that really quickly. So we took a look at all of the committee members in this last election in 2024 to see how many voters in your particular district actually participated in same-day voter registration. And so Assemblymember Dickman, your district's in first place. District 31 had 871 voters who participated in same-day voter registration. Assemblymember Edgeworth is after with 772, and then Assemblymember Hadagi had 771 voters in her district participate in same-day voter registration. Then Assemblymember Miller had 673 voters who participated in same-day voter registration, following by Assemblymember Cole, who had 644 voters participate in same-day voter registration, followed by Assemblymember Hibbets that had 617 voters in his district participate in same-day voter registration, followed by Vice Chair Gonzalez, who had 591 voters participate in same-day voter registration. Then Assemblymember Danielle Moreno had 577 voters in her district participate in same-day voter registration. Assemblymember Nadeem had 545. Chair Mosca had 442 voters in her district participate in same-day voter registration. And last but definitely not least, Assemblymember Moore had 356 voters in her district participate in same-day voter registration. Just in this committee alone, there were 6,859 voters that participated in same-day voter registration. We know that this is a policy that is being used, and if we make it more accessible, there will be more voters that choose to use the policy. The last thing I also just wanted to highlight here, we have the numbers from the 2024 primary. There were 5,851 voters. There's a breakdown there by political party. And then in the general election, there was 27,488 voters. And there's a political party breakdown there. I do also want to disclose for any folks that will call in and question this data, this is all data obtained from Washoe County and Clark County Elections Department via public records request. And so I will go ahead and wrap it up there, but I am available for any questions that the committee members have, and so is Mr. Woloshin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for helping Chair Orenshaw as well. We appreciate it. So with that, we will start with Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just was wondering again, when you were giving those numbers for the districts of, again, just the members here in this committee, could you repeat the first district, the one that benefited the most from same-day registration, and the second district and those numbers?
Yes, for the record, Emily Prasad Zamora, through you, Assemblymember Mosca. Thank you. So for the record, the district in this committee that benefited the most was District 31, represented by Assemblymember Joel Dickman, and that was 871 voters who used same-day voter registration. And the second district was that represented by Assemblymember Rebecca Edgeworth, District 35, and that was 772 voters that used same-day voter registration in her district.
Thank you so much. It's just such an extrapolation of who's actually benefiting from same-day voter registration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for that great question. Members, any other questions? Oh, Assemblymember Hibbets, thank you.
Thank you. I'm hoping that one of you can answer this because I know the presenter had to run to a floor session. My question is not fiscal, but I am going to use a fiscal note for clarification. On the explanation of DMV's fiscal note, Mr. Sever, you might want to start making your way down here. If the chair will allow. Section 3 requires the DMV to remain open on Saturdays and Sundays in hours other than 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the county's population is 100,000 or more. So they're fixed to that as they're going to be open Monday through Saturday, 7:30 to 5:30, and then on Sunday from 8 to noon. And the way that I'm reading the language in here, that would not necessarily fit into what this language says in the law. Does it meet the intent of what the BDR is supposed to do? Or is, the way I'm reading this is the DMV should extend its hours every day for, I think, the 2 weeks preceding, during the 2 weeks immediately preceding the last day to register to vote, and then also preceding the general or primary election, and then including Sunday. So 8 to noon would not necessarily fit in on a Sunday. So am I getting the intention of this bill right? And if so, that's going to affect DMV, which I know we're not talking about money, but it's going to drive up costs.
I was just going to say it's great to see Mr. Sever not in Ways and Means, so you can go direct. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Sean Sever from Nevada DMV. I'll just give my testimony now. We're neutral on this bill, but we do have a fiscal note on it. As mentioned, the impact here is pretty simple. It's our employees work 40 hours a week. If we call them in after hours or on the weekends, it's overtime. So that's primarily where our fiscal note is all about. We also need to pay security guards that we need to have on hand as well. But we already do this for people registering to vote at our urban offices. We did it last as election season. 2 weeks prior to Election Day, we're open from 8:30 to 11:30 in our urban offices, and then Monday through Saturday without an appointment. In addition, we are open from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Election Day and the day before Election Day. So, does that answer your question? Oh.
Do you need to follow up quickly? Yeah.
Number one, I need to know from Secretary of State, I'm assuming that you had some input on the language for this. Does the DMV's plans to open for 4 hours on a Sunday meet the intent of this bill?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Mark Voloshin, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections, for the record. And last name is spelled W-L-A-S-C-H-I-N. Through you, Chair, to the Assemblymember. Thank you. Just to clarify, the Office of the Secretary of State, at least to the best of my knowledge, did not have direct input on the text of the bill. We did discuss it with the Senator as well, of course, in regards to the policy piece of it. But it's my understanding, and perhaps one of my co-presenters could validate it, that to answer your question directly, yes, it does meet the intent of the bill. I know the Senator had reviewed it pretty extensively, discussed it with the DMV and others to make sure that aspect of it, supporting the needs of voters leading up to and through Election Day, was met. And it's my understanding, again, maybe you can clarify, but that he's satisfied that it does meet the intent.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Sever, just making sure for the record, so I heard you say that you had done it before, so it has been done and it has worked.
Yes, that's correct, Chair. Sean Sever, DMV.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Assemblymember Cole.
So my question is on the IDs you're giving out. Are these all real IDs where they're actually, providing the proof of their residence as well at the same time, or is it more than that? Thank you.
Emily Prasad Zamora for the record. Directly to Assemblymember Cole, yes, that is correct. All of the IDs that would be issued for same-day voter registration purposes would be real IDs.
Thank you. Do I see any other questions? Okay, and everyone can always go direct in this committee, so thank you. With that, we will open up testimony for Senate Bill 422, same call-in number 669-900-6833, meeting ID 812-9227-7202. Don't forget, you'll have 2 minutes. State and spell your name for the record. We will be limiting testimony to 20 minutes, and make sure your remarks stay to the bill itself and not the bill sponsor. We will start here in support for SB 422.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Jennifer Willett. My last name is spelled W-I-L-L-E-T-T, and I'm the Senior Campaign Manager at All Voting is Local Action Nevada, an organization that advocates for policies and legislative priorities that expand voter access. We strongly support SB 422. As an election protection volunteer, the most frequent question that I am asked is how to register same day with an out-of-state ID. This is not surprising, as Nevada is one of the most transient states in the country due to our state's economy, high military presence, and newly relocated people. I explain our state's laws and direct them to the DMV for a Nevada ID, but it is not uncommon for them to return saying that all the appointments are booked. So this obviously creates significant frustration for people who want to vote. SB 422 would address these issues by requiring the DMV to offer extended hours. We believe when voter registration is accessible, more people are likely to vote, leading to elections that are representative of the entire population. Please support SB 422, and thank you.
Isaac Tenorio, I-Z-A-C-K-T-E-N-O-R-I-O, with Strategy 60, today representing Campy Legal Center. Campy Legal Center supports SB 422 to ensure the broader access to same-day registration process and to the identification needs to cast a ballot in Nevada. As a nonpartisan election reform organization, CLC believes that thoughtful expansion of this policy balances both access and security and will help ensure the greater number of eligible voters will have the opportunity to participate in the electoral process. Requiring the DMV to be more available on weekends and extended hours for this purpose will ensure that more people will be able to not present other challenges, and this will help to ensure that the voters are not being cut from long lines. Cutting down the number of defranchised Nevadans is a worthwhile and achievable goal that will help that this bill helps accomplish. We urge you to support this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and committee members. For the record, my name is Noel Orozco. That's N-O-E, accent over the E, O-R-O-S-C-O. I'm the Government Affairs Manager with Make the Road Nevada. And in the interest of time, I've submitted my remarks to the Secretary, and I just wanted to say that we support this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Rudy Zamora. That's R-U-D-Y-Z-A-M-O-R-A, and we're in full support of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no others in Carson City and still not seeing anyone in Las Vegas, AVH will go to the phone line for support of SB 422.
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 422, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. That's star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Paula Luna. That's P-A-U-L-A-L-U-N-A, and I'm the Deputy Director of Battleborn Progress, calling in support of SB 422. SB 422 would facilitate access to the ballot box, and for that simple reason should be supported. I also want to echo the comments made by the bill presenters and supporting testimony. We thank Senator Orenshaw for bringing this important legislation, and thank you all for supporting as well.
Thank you. AVH, next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tara Webster, T-A-R-A-W-E-B-S-T-E-R. I'm calling on behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada. This is a really important bill and a step in the right direction towards positive election reform, and PLAN supports SB 422 because we believe our democracy is strengthened when more people can participate and have their voices heard. Additional DMV operating hours during election season reduces barriers for working-class Nevadans who might work odd hours, might be commuting using public transit, or maybe can't visit the DMV during typical business hours. Ultimately, this bill expands election access and same-day voter registration for all voters in Nevada. And we strongly support SB 422 and hope members of this committee will as well.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Jessica Munger, M-U-N-G-E-R, on behalf of Silver State Equality, Nevada's statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization, and we are in support of this bill, and I echo the comments of others. Thank you.
Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and committee members. My name is William Moore, spelled William Moore. I'm the Nevada Civic Engagement Director with Mi Familia en Acción. Mi Familia en Acción is a proud member of the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. We stand in favor of SB 422 because it helps guarantee that more eligible individuals have the chance to take part in voting on Election Day. We see this as an essential measure that supports equitable and open access for members of our community to engage in the democratic process. SB 422 represents thoughtful and comprehensive legislation that focuses on making the most of our community resources and takes initiative in eliminating avoidable obstacles for voters. We appreciate the committee for introducing this bill. We respectfully encourage the committee to advance SB 422. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. My name is Tara Alcox, A-L-C-O-X, and I represent the Children's Advocacy Alliance as our policy intern. CAA is an independent voice for Nevada's children with a mission to ensure every child in Nevada thrives. CAA is in support of SB 422. Mandating extended DMV hours during election season would ensure that every individual has an opportunity to cast their vote. Many working parents do not have the time during normal DMV hours to make an appointment to receive a new identification card or to update their card to vote. By removing these inconveniences and barriers, families are encouraged to participate and register to vote. When parents vote, they are voting for their children's education, healthcare, and overall well-being. By removing mandatory DMV appointments, individuals can obtain the necessary identification card needed within a reasonable time frame. We urge you to vote yes on SB 422 on behalf of working families in Nevada. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony, and thank you for your commitment to Nevada's children.
Thank you. Next caller.
If you recently joined the call and would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 422, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no additional callers for support.
Thank you. And with that, we will now hear testimony in opposition to SB 422. We will start here in Carson City. Still don't see any in Las Vegas. We'll do Carson City, then we'll go to the phone lines. And don't forget to state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes, and you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Mosca and Assembly members. My name is Nancy Carlson, C-A-R-L-S-O-N. I'm in opposition to SB 422, Amendments 347 and 758. I've been a full-time election worker for the last 5 elections. I've seen voter fraud, as well as illegal residents who have received ballots after having been automatically registered at the DMV. It does happen. The more complex or rushed the process, the more the opportunity for error. Use of an out-of-state driver's license requires the voter to complete a provisional ballot and return to the Registrar of Voters up to 6 days after the election with a valid Nevada ID to cure their ballots. Provisional ballots take longer to process and add to the administrative burden on the back end. The time, cost, and delay of providing election results are all reasons to oppose this bill. This is not an issue of same-day registrations. We do see a lot of same-day registrations, which the data presented earlier shows. This is an issue of people who want to do a same-day registration who do not have adequate ID. No one has provided those statistics about those provisional ballots which have to be cured for each election. Updating an address is not a same-day registration. The fiscal notes attached to this bill show the increased amount of time and money needed by the DMV to process additional requests for local Nevada ID, including extended hours of operation. We shouldn't have to spend more and more dollars on our elections for voters who are not prepared to vote. We provide so many opportunities for people to obtain the needed identification prior to our elections. We must require voters to have the necessary ID prior to the election, as was done successfully prior to 2020. Please oppose SB 422. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I am the state chairman of the Independent American Party. It's interesting on this chart that we received, it doesn't really have anything to do with today's bill because we don't know how any of these people voted, so we don't know if they benefited those in which district they happen to be in. The other thing it doesn't show is that it doesn't include what this bill does, which we oppose, and that is people registering to vote with out-of-state driver's licenses and people with no ID. Now, I don't know how people get along in the world without any ID. I've never figured out how to do that. But they have in here an opportunity for people that have no ID to swear out an affidavit so that they can vote. This is absolutely absurd. We want people to vote, but we want people to be competent when they vote. If they don't even have an ID, what's going on? So that's a real problem I think that we need to recognize. So how many people would be helped who don't have an in-state ID? I mean, it's one thing they can vote now if they have a driver's license or a tribal card or some of those things. They're now allowed to register to vote. But this goes beyond that for out-of-state IDs and for people who have no ID. Then we have to wait until the Friday after the election, when we're all waiting for election votes, to see if their provisional ballot even counts. This is a problem for the election system and people wondering if our system really works when we're waiting till the Friday after election to get results. We oppose this bill. There are plenty of opportunities for people to register to vote. There are plenty of opportunities for people to update their IDs, and this is unnecessary and creates more time and problem for our election officials. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Chairwoman Mosca and the committee. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm the State Vice President of Nevada Families for Freedom. And I was looking at this and said, gee, driver's license from another state. Well, let's think about fake IDs and identity theft. That happens all the time. Also, utility bills to prove your address. Well, a number of years ago, right before a primary, I found out I didn't get my utility bill, and I found out when I called, oh, well, you didn't, you changed your address. Well, I didn't change the address. My daughter worked for a grocery store at the time, and she worked in non-foods, taking in utility bills and phone bills and such. She walked in the room when I was telling my husband about what happened, and she said, Mom, there's been at least 50 people that have come in the last 2 weeks with the same thing. They didn't change their address, but somebody did. I took that information to Senate-led jobs in this building and gave that information, and Senator Bill Raggio said, I'll take care of it. And I don't know what the outcome was, but it was very alarming to him at that time. I also wanted to bring up, what's wrong with people? We have 6 months worth, at least 6 months worth of campaign ads, and people can't figure out that there's an election coming, that maybe they better take care of making sure their driver's license are up to date. And I don't think it's right to have the taxpayers have to keep paying more money for people who can't get off the dime and get things done in a timely manner. After all, in the olden days, we had 1 day to vote, and that was it. So shame on the people today. They should get their stuff together and be able to take care of business. Thank you.
My name is Catherine Ingham, Catherineingham, and I oppose
SB 422, I've been a poll watcher for the last few elections, and I've seen a lot of malfeasance, a lot of issues, a lot of scary stuff, especially in 2020 when no one was a poll watcher because the SELEC made the first few days where only the election workers and the voters could be there. And I've seen too much for people to say, let's get rid of all of our inconveniences and make it so much easy that even fraud can happen. Voting is the only voice we have in representative government. And the more you make it easy to a point that you make it easy for the people who are nefarious and dangerous. Please, I oppose 422. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Cynthia Perrine, CYNTHIAPERINE. I'm in opposition of SB 422 as amended. I'd like to bring out again that the previous testifiers have brought out that the actual number of out-of-state holders of ID and driver's license is not well quantified. So is this bill truly needed? It is also my understanding that real ID is not required in this bill. This bill opens the door to more fraud. The ease of obtaining fake driver's licenses and IDs is well established. Bad actors with such documents could undermine the election results. Nevada voters are already dubious about the state's election process, and let's not exacerbate their concerns. For these reasons, I oppose this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Mosca and committee. My name is Joshua Skaggs, and I am the Legislative Affairs Director for the Nevada Republican Party, here today in opposition to SB 422. We particularly object to Section 3, which adds an additional 6 days of special treatment by the DMV at the cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to the DMV's fiscal note. The DMV voter registration has been an abject failure, wasting significant taxpayer dollars on a flawed system, causing voters to lose their party registration and failing to produce increased participation in elections. This section adds unnecessary expense and complexity when most adults already have a driver's license as a part of functioning in society. SB 422 is another attempt to pass SB 443 of the 2023 session. That bill was vetoed by Governor Lombardo, who correctly noted in his veto message that the bill allows for insufficient proof of residency to vote and places the sanctity and security of our elections in jeopardy. SB 422 creates further delays in reporting final, accurate election results by encouraging additional provisional ballots. Provisional ballots, which come primarily from same-day voter registrations, are already difficult and complex for the counties to manage. SB 422 needlessly adds further complexity and delay because it is already incredibly easy to register to vote in Nevada. You can register to vote online, in person, automatically at the DMV, or at the polling place on Election Day. And once registered, voters have ballots delivered to them free of charge without even asking. For all these reasons, we ask you to please vote no on SB 422, and thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no others in Carson City, and again none in Las Vegas, AVH will open the phone line for opposition of SB 422.
If you would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 422, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, that's star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is Iris Stone, S-T-O-N-E, and I represent myself, and I live in Las Vegas. I'd like to describe the scenario that could be allowed should SB 422 be approved and passed. One caution is that we need to balance accessibility against ensuring secure election processes. So this example would bring this home. An Arizona resident rents an apartment in Las Vegas 2.5 months prior to Election Day with a proper Arizona driver's license and an Arizona address. This person temporarily moves to Las Vegas, makes sure she or he pays their utility bills for those 2 months. Person then goes and votes on election day in Las Vegas somewhere. They show their Arizona driver's license, bring their Nevada utility bill with them. Result, they will be allowed to vote in Nevada's elections. No provisional ballot is required. Then a week after the election, the Arizona resident cancels their rental contract and they return full-time to their Arizona residence. The above scenario can also easily be applied to any out-of-state student, since a student ID is an acceptable form of ID in Nevada. And again, the same scenario applies to people with tribal identification cards from anywhere in the United States. In reality, SB 422 would create a loophole to allow people with other states' driver's licenses to vote in our state. While this may not increase provisional ballots, it sets us up for nefarious actors to traffic in voters. Just rent an apartment in their name. It sure takes ballot harvesting to a new level. On top of that, it would be impossible to prove malfeasance after the election. Even if we determined that this happened, we could not do anything about it since it's a legal process in Nevada. I urge legislators to think long and hard about the unintended consequences of this bill and oppose SB 422. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Kimberly Fergus, F-E-R-G-U-S. And I'm sitting here, since I just testified on this bill last week, I'm scratching my head how I can switch this up to testify in opposition of SB 422. This bill is deeply entangled with SB 74 and SB 562 appropriations bill we just saw yesterday. It's all starting to feel like a layered mess. Expensive, complicated, and absolutely redundant. SB 422 attempts to overhaul voter registration timelines, force the DMV to be an elections office, and lean heavily on voter registration systems that SB 74 is still trying to define and regulate, like the E-system. Meanwhile, AB 562 is throwing more taxpayer money at the same system through Phase 3 upgrades. So we're funding the same infrastructure 3 different ways. Let's be clear, this is no coincidence. These 3 bills are overlapping by design. If one fails, the other survives. And either way, the voter is left confused and the taxpayer is on the hook. The DMV should focus on licensing, not being proposed into a last-minute ID distribution center, creating chaotic election windows. Voters already have ample time to get an ID and register properly. Expanding a flawed motor voter system that already misassigns party affiliation only adds to the mess. This is not election integrity, it's a bureaucratic redundancy and chaos. I would just like to say I really like the examples that Ms. Stone just said in her testimony, and I urge you to vote no on SB 422. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hi, Yolanda Knock. I also am opposed to this bill. Please vote no. Yolanda Knock, YOLANDAKNAAK. Dear Chair and committee, this is not a good bill. Please vote no. I actually worked for the ROV in Incline Village last year, and I agree with the other callers that said there is a lot of fraud. And I don't know if you remember the last election. A lot of people voted no. In fact, the majority voted no on voter ID, which tells you that they don't trust our elections, and I don't think this will improve the voter trust. Thank you so much.
Next caller.
Good afternoon. This is Oscar Williams again. I am opposed to SB 422 and amendments because, for one, it changes the residency requirement to shorten it. And I think that's problematic in a number of ways, but particularly as it goes to election integrity. Overall, and as other people have suggested, this bill allows non-citizens to vote. And then it obligates the county to catch the crime. It's the worst way to run an election possible, as far as I'm concerned. Why would you allow the crime to happen, enable it, and then figure it out later? I mean, this is our elections. It is absolutely wrong. Please vote no on SB 422 and the amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition.
Thank you so much. We will now move to neutral. If anyone is here in Carson City for neutral to SB 422. Not seeing any, we will go to Las Vegas. No one is in Las Vegas. So AVH will open up the phone lines for neutral SB 422.
If you would like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 422, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, excuse me, is this 74? Bill 74?
No, sir, we're not on 74 yet. We're on 422. So just hang tight.
Okay, yeah, I tried to, excuse me, I tried to call in opposition, but it wouldn't let me. So I'm just in
We did have,
opposition.
okay, go ahead. We had 2 minutes left in opposition, so you can go ahead.
Cyrus Hojati, Hojjaty. My voice is gone. Sorry, ditto.
Thank you so much. Any others in neutral?
Chair, we have no additional callers on the line.
With that, we will invite the co-presenters if they have any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair Muska and committee members, again, for hearing SB 422. I know that we're on day 116, and there's a lot going on, and I'm sure that you all are beyond exhausted. But before we go, there were a couple of things that were said in negative testimony that I just want to clarify on the record. I have dedicated my entire career to elections, from being a canvasser when I was young, to registering folks on the field, to now being in this particular position and making sure that every eligible person in the state of Nevada is able to exercise their right to vote regardless of political affiliation. But one thing I cannot stand for is mis and disinformation about elections. And so I would like to clarify a couple of things that were said. The one thing I did want to say regarding Assemblymember Cole asked a wonderful question about real ID, and I just wanted to clarify my response. So if somebody if this bill were to pass, if they go to the DMV, no one gets an ID immediately. It's the interim paper that they will receive, right? Even if you're not going for these particular reasons, that's the first thing that you would receive. And then when, within the 7 to 10 business days, you will get that real ID license or identification card in the mail. So I just wanted to clarify that for the particular record. Additionally, there was something that was said about same-day voter registration, and changing your address does not mean that you have to do a same-day voter registration. Yes, in statute currently in the state of Nevada, if you go to a polling location during early voting or election day and you want to vote with a new address, if you have changed, that is a same-day voter registration process that has to happen. And so I wanted to clarify that because that was said on negative opposition, and that is incorrect. The other thing that I wanted to say, I totally just lost my train of thought. So I'm actually going to give it to Gabriel for a quick second to clarify a couple of other things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Gabriel DeCara, for the record, Chief Deputy Secretary of State. Additionally, wanted to provide a few Clarifications, the 2024 general election had 1.48 million voters, which is the greatest number of voters that have voted in an election in Nevada in history. 1,590 voters had their provisional ballots not counted because they could not provide an ID or proof of residence, which is the system working as intended and what this bill is trying to address. As Ms. Zamora said, the same-day address changes are counted as provisional ballots. That's something the Secretary of State's office is trying to address with AB 534. I wanted to add, we're very grateful for the DMV for working with the Secretary of State's office on improving the AVR process, as they have done diligently since that law passed. And to close, Democratic and Republican secretaries of state from all over the country have found no evidence of widespread voter fraud in Nevada or anywhere else, and no bill would allow non-citizens to vote. That would be unconstitutional. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to go to Majority, stay here, please. Majority Leader Hadegui for a question.
Thank you for being here, and I want to agree, and I apologize because I walked in during the bill presentation late, so if you've already addressed this, and I do apologize if this was a question that was asked, but I agree. I can't have people come to the dais or to the witness testicle and testify and represent misinformation. That is wrong. And I know that Nevada has some of the safest elections, so I just want to ask these numbers of you, Chief of Staff DeCara, and if you could just confirm that these are true. There was nearly 2 million voters in the 2024 elections, and according to one of the quarterly reports released from the Secretary of State's office, there was only 303 fraud complaints. That represents 0.02% of the ballots cast. Is that correct?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. So to say that you work at an election site and have seen fraud happening on a daily basis is just a complete misrepresentation that I could not have on the record without correcting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on SB 442. We will now open the hearing on SB 74. This measure revises provisions relating to elections. We have the Secretary of State here today, as well as the Secretary of State's office to present SB 74. You have 15 minutes for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you. For the record, I'm Cisco Aguilar, Secretary of State. I'm joined by Chief Deputy Gabriel DeCara and Deputy Voloshin for elections. We're here today to present SB 74, an elections omnibus bill. This is the latest version of a bill from the last session that was initially developed by my office during Secretary Sagaski's tenure. We consider these common sense, non-controversial updates of election law. Title 24 covers 9 chapters of statute, which must regularly be updated to ensure that our election law reflects our modern age. SB 74 contains dozens of provisions, which can generally be grouped together into 3 categories: clarifications, conforming changes, and administrative adjustments. While I'm happy to review the bill in its entirety with you, we have 15 minutes, I will focus this presentation on conceptual amendments submitted to this committee. First, we have amended out the expanded use of ease, and instead will reestablish a method by which voters can request a mail ballot in the case of emergencies. Current law does not account for emergencies that may occur between the final day to request a mail ballot and Election Day. Second, in Section 4, we'd like to clarify that payment by credit card for candidate filings is at the discretion of the filing officer. This allows for flexibility if a local elections office doesn't have a mechanism to accept credit card payments for candidate filings. Now to Section 18. This would clarify the distinction between voters who have selected no political party through the automatic voter registration process and the voters who have affirmatively chosen to be nonpartisan. This amendment also adds a distinction between candidates for nonpartisan office and independent candidates for partisan office. This amendment will clarify the law and add transparency for both voters and candidates. Next, we'd like to remove all of Section 19 as written, and in Sections 20 and throughout, whenever the bill requires notice to be sent to the current residence of the voter, we'd like to replace that language with current mailing address of the voter. This will help with situations where voters have a different mailing address, but statute requires counties to mail to the residents regardless. Finally, we'd like to remove Section 24.3 and instead amend NRS 293.361 to help clarify the areas where electioneering is prohibited. Again, the goal of all these is to modernize current election law and increase accessibility and transparency for voters, candidates, and the public. Thank you for your time, and we are available for questions.
Thank you for your quick presentation, and with that, we will open it up to questions. Members, do we have any questions? We'll start with Vice Chair Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It's afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. I just had a question about the amendment on the back in regards to addressing electioneering. And I had worked on this issue last session, and so I was just wondering, are we doing this change because we're still seeing issues with electioneering at voting sites? And then I also just wanted to know, thank you for including the jails. I, completely didn't realize that folks could do that there. So thanks.
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Mark Voloshin, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections, for the record. To answer directly, yes. There are concerns and questions. Voters see the statutes, understand what they can and can't do, but because the text was slightly confusing, talking about a building as opposed to a vote area, it did lead to confusion, which detracted from the ability of election officials locally to focus on supporting the needs of those voters instead of adjudicating this sort of discussion.
Thank you so much. And then, so are we, because I'm just thinking about what we did last session, so are we still requiring signs to say that at these places? Or are we just going to do a lot of outreach of you cannot be electioneering near these places at all at this point?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. The signs are still required. Everything else exists and remains in place. The signs, again, it is perceived that they help voters understanding where they essentially are entering a safe space. But yes, the intent is to simply clarify, and for some of the larger polling places, specifically in our larger jurisdictions, if it's in a mall, trying to clarify, is it the entirety of the mall that has to be prohibited from electioneering? Is it just near the location? So that's really the intent behind it.
Thank you. Members, other questions? Assemblymember Cole.
Hello. Thank you for being here with us. It's always good to see you. So my question is related to the amendment. So not the proposed, well, I guess it's the proposed amendment and then the most recent amendment that was adopted where section 1.5 was deleted by amendment that had the ease and the expansion there. But in your proposed amendment, it says to be determined some process for emergencies. Ease might not be the best system. I guess my question is, can you assure the committee or me that the ease system would not be reinserted into the bill? Thank you.
Gabriel DeCara, for the record, thank you for the question. Yes, that is correct. The e-system would not be reinserted into the bill. Our recommendation is to take the emergency absentee ballot language that was taken out of statute when universal mail ballots were passed, conform it to current law, and use that process. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Nadeem.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. My question is regarding the mail ballots. They may be counted or they will be counted before the polls will be closed.
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Mark Voloshin, for the record. Ballots may be counted up to the 15th day prior to Election Day, but getting tabulated and processed is very different from releasing results. Results cannot be released by law until the last voter has voted and the last polls are closed. That remains in place also and does not change.
Gabriel DeCara, for the record, I just want to add, we are adding that, currently counties may start that process. Why we are trying to formalize and put that process into statute affirmatively. Getting those mail ballots counted, all of the mail ballots that come in before Election Day, having them processed and ready to tabulate is what allowed us to release results earlier than ever before. And get those initial results that will include all of early voting and all the mail ballots that arrived before Election Day out to the public so they have some idea of what's occurring with their elections. And this change in statute would help set that process in stone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to follow up on a question from my colleague about the electioneering at a building or in front of a building. No electioneering, I'll paraphrase, no electioneering in or within 100 feet from the entrance to the building or other structure. And I apologize, I can't remember who answered it with the mall analogy. Okay, we'll blame Mr. Volashin. So if there's an election site inside of a mall and I'm on the other side of the mall, I can't wear a shirt that says yes on 3. Am I hearing that correctly?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Mark Volashin, for the record. That's what we're trying to clarify because, again, understanding the importance of First Amendment protected speech, recognizing that some of the malls in our state are huge, it wouldn't make sense to prohibit somebody from wearing a shirt supporting a candidate, party, or a ballot question, 2 miles away, perhaps, from the polling place that they may not even realize exists on the far side. So that, again, the attempt is to clarify. And the requested amendment, again, did involve discussions with the Clark County Registrar's Office based on some of their most recent experiences, even this past November, which is, again, I think to your point, not prohibiting individuals from wearing and expressing First Amendment opinions outside of a polling place. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. So just to be clear, if I'm in a mall, on the other side of it, I can wear a shirt that says vote for whoever, even if there's a polling place in the mall and I'm not, let's say I'm not within 100 feet of the polling place. Is the intent, or are you trying to stop people from walking into a mall wearing a shirt that is for or against something to do with the election?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. I appreciate the clarity. No, the intent is not to prevent someone from wearing a shirt on the far side of the mall because a polling place exists somewhere within the structure.
Thank you. That's just exactly what I was looking for. Appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions, we will start with testimony in support of SB 74. Don't forget you have 2 minutes. State and spell your name for the record, and we will do 20 minutes for support, 20 minutes for opposition, and 20 minutes for neutral. You may start when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Ryan Vortish. That's spelled R-Y-A-N, last name V-O-R-T-I-S-C-H, and I'm the Northern Nevada Democracy Coordinator of Silver State Voices. On behalf of my organization and the Let Nevadans Vote Coalition, we are in strong support of SB 74. We appreciate the Secretary of State's office for their continued efforts in improving efficiency, accessibility, transparency, and security in Nevada's elections, from ensuring all votes are counted, to covering costs for clerks' election procedure trainings, to implementing crucial security protocols such as the Cyber Incident Response Plan. This bill is a great example of the office's commitment to all Nevada voters. Additionally, we appreciate the proposed additions to the bill and the provided conceptual amendment. For these reasons, we urge your support on SB 74. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Doug Goodman, D-O-U-G-G-O-O-D-M-A-N, founder, executive director of Nevadans for Election Reform. I'd like to speak specifically to the amendment on Section 18. I'd like to thank, first of all, Deputy Director Volashin for discussing this with me since the bill was announced. As some of you know, because you get my report, since 2017, I do a monthly report, very detailed down to district level, of voter share based on the state's voter registration numbers. One of the biggest questions, too, coming up with the growth of nonpartisan is that there has been, this has been inflated because of automatic voter registration default. While voter registration statistics right before the primary don't show any significant movement, the amendment as described to Section 18 will allow this now to be broken out. So nonpartisan will appear, those will be the people who actually registered as nonpartisan, and those who defaulted will be listed as no political party. This will make the gathering of data much more clear. It will potentially end the debate on the impact of automatic voter registration on the nonpartisan numbers. So this is something that I think is really going to help our analysis of who's voting and how they're registering. Fully support the bill and the amendment. Thank you.
Hello, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. My name is Carissa Pierce, CARISSAPEARCE, and I'm representing Children's Advocacy Alliance. We believe that this bill, especially the measure for emergency, will support families and who may have an emergency happen on the day that they are planning to go and vote, to make sure that they are still able to vote and support their children and advocate for their children, because ultimately families advocate through their vote. So we appreciate this measure coming forward, and thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony.
Thank you. Thank you. Seeing no others in Carson City for support, we will go down to Las Vegas for support of SB 74.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and committee members. My name is Chanel Casanello, CASSANELLO, and I'm the campaign manager at All Voting is Local Action Nevada. We're an organization that advocates for policies and legislation that expand voter access. We urge you to support SB 74. This legislation improves voters' accessibility to cast their ballot and updates our electoral process. We are also in support of the proposed conceptual amendment, but a highlight of this measure is the requirement of voter registration agencies to inform voters who register after the vote by mail deadline of their remaining voting options. This will not only enhance voter preparedness, but also their participation. Also, it's imperative for me to underscore that Nevada's elections are secure and safe, and we appreciate this bill's initiative for the Secretary of State to establish a cyber incident response plan to further strengthen our elections. Overall, SB 74 introduces important safeguards to our election system. It supports election administration at the county level, and it expands voter access. And we urge your support on SB 74. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no others in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone line for support of SB 74.
To testify in support for Senate Bill 74, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits 527, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I am not for support. I'm for opposition, so I want to go back in the queue.
Okay, thank you. AVH, let's go to the next caller, please.
Chair, the lines are open and working. We have no callers for support at this time.
Okay, thank you. We will now open opposition to SB 74 here in Carson City. Don't forget to state and spell your name for the record. Okay, not seeing anyone here and not seeing anyone at the dais, the table in Las Vegas. AVH will open the phone line to opposition to SB 74.
To testify in opposition to Senate Bill 74, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Iris Stone again, representing myself. I have comments on a few of the sections. First, Section 12, which refers to mail ballot counting by the counting board and states, quote, the counting procedure must be public and, comma, to the extent practical, which is the new piece, comma, continue without adjournment until completed. Given the focus on completing the final count by end of election day, why allow any interruption of the count? Instead, perhaps these should be covered by adding extra shifts so that the counting is not interrupted. On Section 20 and 21, that refers to voter roll maintenance based on changes of residence, I have a recommendation that potentially should be considered in subsection 2, paragraph J, namely that the voter status immediately and temporarily be changed from active to inactive so that a mail ballot is not sent erroneously to the registrant's old address. Once the registrant responds to the postcard, then the appropriate correction to the record could be made. Either put them back onto active and send the mail ballot, or keep the record inactive. And the last section is Section 24, This new section allows for same-day registration updates when voting in person during early vote and election day. It removes the requirement for issuing provisional ballots, which is concerning, because even if the county clerk has reasonable cause to believe that further verification is required, they can now skip this step. This puts the voter roll accuracy at risk. It should also be noted that same-day voting updates encourage voters to procrastinate and, worse, instill fraudulent behavior, especially when you combine this with SB 422 we just went through, where people with driver's licenses from other states or tribal areas everywhere in the United States would be allowed to cast votes in Nevada without a provisional ballot. I highly recommend that more common sense legislation be considered instead, namely that the voter registration process be closed 30 days or maybe 20 days.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You are over your
election
2
day.
minutes, but definitely submit it to our committee. Thank you so much. We'll go to the next caller, please.
I am at my end. Thank
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak. My name is Kimberly Fergus, F-E-R-G-U-S, and I rise in strong opposition to SB 74. This bill is no longer just about the EASE program. It's turned into a bloated, tangled web of election overhauls that overlap with SB 422, AB 562, SB 488, and if one fails, the other fills the gaps, and taxpayers foot the bill either way. We're looking at a redundant systems, conflicting timelines, duplicated cybersecurity mandates, and vague funding paths. It's confusing for voters, burdensome for counties, and it focuses on unfunded mandates through Section 6 and 26. And voters need confidence and clarity, not layered bureaucracy. And I'm not picking on Secretary of State Aguilar. I mean, I have a lot of respect for him and I get along with him, but I just want to mention that, you know, in reference to you saying that, you know, you're doing an update for a 10-year update, then if it's supposed to be a modernization effort, it shouldn't be disorganized and financially reckless. It should be out in the open and done with transparency and not buried across 4 overlapping bills. Please vote no on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, members of the committee. Iris Hojati, Hojjaty. I'm calling in opposition. Thank you. Ditto.
Thank you. We hope you feel better. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Jim DeGraffenreid, JimDeGraffenreid, and I am Nevada's Republican National Committeeman here today in opposition to SB 74. SB 74 enables registered voters unable to access their mail ballot or to go to the polls due to illness, hospitalization, or being called away from home to use an approved system of electronic transmission to apply for and cast their ballot. The Nevada Republican Party strongly opposes the expanding of electronic voting systems to additional groups of voters. The EASE system is already in use far beyond its intended scope. If we continue to expand EASE access every single session, we'll end up with a universal online voting system, which would have vulnerabilities that could potentially be exploited, such as hacking or tampering with data and other cyber attacks, especially if the systems are connected to the internet. Electronic voting eliminates any possibility of having safe and transparent elections. Instead, the party strongly supports the use of paper ballots and in-person voting on a single election day with voter ID as fundamental safeguards of election integrity. These methods provide transparency, reduce opportunities for tampering, and ensure public confidence in the voting process. As regards to changes in Section 18, we continue to oppose motor voter because we believe that it causes significant confusion and difficulty. I myself just renewed my Nevada driver's license, and following that, where I was forced to say that I wanted to continue to vote as a Republican, received no less than 4 mailings from either the state or my county clerk, which is a waste of our taxpayer funds. Please vote no on SB 74. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 74, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no more callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will now open neutral for SB 74. We will start here in Carson City. Do not see anyone in Las Vegas, so we will go to the phone lines after this. Neutral for SB 74.
If you would like to testify in neutral to
I'm
Senate
sorry.
Bill
We're going to start down
74,
here in Carson City. Sorry.
Hello, Chair, committee members. Sean Server from the Nevada DMV. We are neutral on SB 74. We have a zero impact fiscal note on the DMV portions of the bill, which require us to provide printed notification and website additions. This notification can be absorbed because we feel the number of customers requiring it will be minimal. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Perrine, CYNTHIA-PERINE. I would like to bring to the committee's attention that the bill mandates that the Secretary of State install a cyber interference incident response plan. And although the fiscal note indicates little expense related to this program, the committee should be aware and consider that such a program could be formidably expensive with additional computer applications, trainings, testings, and execution. I'd also, just as a general comment, I'd like to bring to the committee's attention that numerous federal agencies, including the National Institute of Standards and Technology, have indicated that the risk of electronic transfer of election data, which includes electronic voter registration, does entail considerable risk, and that indeed these agencies have recommended the return to paper ballots, just for your information. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen, and I'm the state chairman of the Independent American Party. We wanted to thank the Secretary of State's office for removing electronic voting from this bill. We had testified against the bill previously because it contained electronic voting, which we oppose the expansion of, and we appreciate them in responding to our concerns and want to thank the Secretary of State. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no others in neutral here or in Vegas, now we'll open AVH, the phone lines for neutral to SB 74.
to testify in neutral to Senate Bill 74, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Oscar Williams again. I want to speak in opposition. I had raised my hand, but I wasn't called. May I be allowed to have 2 minutes in opposition?
But we still had time in opposition, so you may. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was initially opposed to this bill for a number of reasons. It is the amendments have removed a lot of the electronic voting mandates that I really was opposed to. The bill initially is, and the structure of this whole thing is designed to kill paper ballots and move us toward total electronic voting. And what's interesting about it, what I don't think a lot of people appreciate in the process, the Secretary of State is the one who processes those electronic ballots. It doesn't go through the county. This is a blatant power grab by the Secretary of State along his top-down election management bias that he thinks that everybody enjoys. The bill overrides the rights of counties and cities per Nevada Constitution, Article 4, Section 20, to regulate and conduct their own elections. So the language is extremely broad in that sense, but a lot of it has been whittled down through the amendments. If there's one section that I still really object to, I think it is, because the changes are so broad, Sections 12 and 31 of this bill gut how paper ballots are counted pursuant to NRS 293.363 and 293C 362. It's a tongue twister. And it replaces them with 293.269.231, 293C 26331. But those statutes have no details on handling paper ballots. So we seem to be going backwards on the rights of counties to regulate and conduct their own elections, whether it be paper ballots or whatever they want. So on that sense, I still object to it. And thank you for allowing me to speak out of turn. Appreciate it.
Thank you, AVH. Any other callers in neutral?
Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
And with that, I will allow the Secretary of State to make closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, thank you for having us today. Our goal is, one, to build efficiencies into the process. As you've heard me say throughout this legislative session, the more capacity we could build at the county level, the more efficiencies we can build, the faster we can get results to voters, and I think that's what Nevada voters want. Again, we did remove the entire e-system out of this bill, and this is truly focused on efficiencies that were developed prior to me being secretary, but to Barbara Sagaski as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification. And with that, we will close the hearing on SB 74. Members, we have 2 items left on our agenda. However, we will recess for 1 minute. We'll recess for 1 minute. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. We appreciate your patience. We're actually going to go into work session here today. So we know we only have a few days left of session. The speaker has waived Rule 57.4 of the Assembly Standing Rules to allow committees to take final action on bills within 24 hours after they were heard. So it's my intention today that we will work session the bills we just heard, SB 74, SB 226, and SB 422. To make it easier, I will go in order of what was heard today. So the first measure we will consider on work session is Senate Bill 226. This measure is sponsored by the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections and revises provisions relating to legislative affairs. We heard this first today, and there is an amendment that Chair Orenshaw discussed. Members, are there any questions? Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and my question has to do with that amendment. It's the mining amendment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So all I keep hearing is that the Mining Oversight Accountability Commission doesn't meet. They've been suggested to cease. Is there any way we could amend this amendment to eliminate that?
Thank you, Assemblymember. Because the senator is not here, I don't think we can consider that right now.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Majority Leader Hadge.
Thank you. Sounds like a good recommendation for the Sunset Subcommittee during the interim.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we noted that down, so that will be helpful. Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass SB 226.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Gonzalez and a second from Assemblymember Hadge. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, and the motion carries. Oh, and I will assign all of these floor statements to myself. Thank you. We will consider the next item, which is SB 422. This measure is sponsored by the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Senator Orenshaw started the presentation, and then we heard from our co-presenters. So members, are there any questions? I'll entertain a motion to do pass SB 422.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Gonzalez, a second from Assemblymember Hadge. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Nays can raise their hand. We have nays from Assemblymember Hibbets, Assemblymember Cole, Edgeworth, and Dickman. The motion carries, and I will now close this work session. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I will now close this one. I apologize. So we have one more. So Senate Bill 74. So I'll now open the work session on Senate Bill 74. This motion is sponsored by the committee on behalf of the Secretary of State and revises provisions relating to elections. There was also a conceptual amendment proposed by the Secretary of State's office, and this is the one that we just heard. Members, are there any questions? I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass SB 74.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Gonzalez, a second from Assemblymember Hadge. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Go ahead, Assemblymember Cole.
There we go. Appreciate that, Chair. Thank you. So I'm going to be a yes. Reserved, maybe just a yes. And the reason for this is on the conceptual amendment for section 24.3, where we're talking about the 100 feet within a building or other structure. There's going to be some clarification language in regulations that I've been assured will happen that will clarify that it's the nearest entrance to the building. So that should clarify and fix Brian's issues, or sorry, my colleague's issues.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. Any other items? Okay, so now all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Nays. We have Assemblymember Hibbets, Assemblymember Edgeworth, and Assemblymember Dickman, and the motion carries. And again, all those floor statements to me, and I will now close this work session. So thank you so much. So members, so we actually are going to recess until later this evening when we are back together with just us. So at this time, we will see everybody at the joint meeting at 4 p.m., but we will recess our assembly meeting. So we are in recess. Thank you.